Good evening.
Good evening.
How's it going? Yeah, question.
Dumpster fire.
Ah,
Dumpster fire. Like I said, though, I did it to myself.
yeah.
And I know I did. So, moving on.
I got. Oh, you know what? So I got up today, and because I am in my sleep a teeth grinder and a jaw clencher. So when I went and got my cavity filled last week,
Mm-hmm.
I asked about
A
something.
guard.
So they fit me for a guard. Oh, I should have brought him in. Um, I got to
I
keep
forgot to tell you, I do love that.
I got to keep the cast of my teeth. So if I ever go missing,
My grandmother actually kept all of hers, and she actually made her own teeth.
interesting.
Yep.
So I got my mouth guard today. And because I clench a lot of, he told me, wear it when you clench. Like anytime you're known to, and when I'm at work and I'm listening to something and working across from the twat
Mhm.
monster, I clench a lot.
I can imagine.
Um, so she has been moving like super slow, like on purpose. I believe it's on purpose. And when I got back from break, she was just, her team leader was giving her break, and my team leader, Mr. Handsome, um, I said, I asked, does she move slow when you cover? He was like, yeah, I've noticed that in the last week or so. She like moves like super fucking slow. And I said, I'm going to kick her in the front butt. And he was like, not the front butt. Mm,
That's hilarious.
I, mm. So yeah, so I, and because the way it is, I can't really talk great in it. Like, saying S's, not happening. So when I did talk with it in, I was like, this. And well, I don't talk to her anyway. We don't fucking speak unless it's something to do with the job. Like, uh, the end of last week, she had put like a wrong part on. And instead of me saying, hey, that's the wrong one, I just went and pointed at it. Like, I don't fucking talk to her. But that's just the petty Betty in me.
That's awesome.
So all that to say, I have a mouth guard.
Oh,
So yeah, I have a mouth guard. Um,
I feel like I should probably have one of those.
I, I did notice a difference. Like when I left work, I wasn't so like tense in the
Yeah.
jaw. So I can just imagine what it's gonna do when I sleep.
Um, I've noticed when I do meditations and they go through to relax, each section of your body, my jaw is the very last thing to unclench. Even
Yeah,
like it goes all the way down to my feet, and then like I'm finally relaxed enough to unclench my jaw. Yeah, it's terrible.
yeah, it is bad. And honestly, I wish I would have asked him about this when I first started going for the first couple cavities.
I do know the exact name though for doing it while you sleep. It's called nighttime bruxism. The clenching and grinding while you sleep is called nighttime bruxism.
Okay. I didn't know that.
And yeah, when you're a child and you pee the bed, it's called nighttime enuetics.
Huh.
I worked for a company that helped to correct this in people. And so, yeah, I got to learn the names and all that kind of fun stuff. I was a secretary. Well, secretary slash dispatcher, because we had it in all the states, and then we had a couple people in like Australia and Hawaii and stuff, or
Okay.
like our department heads would go there, and so they would call in for their appointments, and we would give them directions and all that kind of stuff.
Okay. Let's see. I don't think I have anything. I really, I really wish I would have brought them in here. And I was showing Roy before I left for work today. I'm like, ain't these cool? And he was like, sure. They're fucking cool.
I would be me, and I would figure out a way to put a hinge on them.
I thought of that too.
The fact that we both had that thought is that's why we're friends.
I definitely also had that thought. I'm like, that would be so fucking cool. But
And then you can paint them to look like real teeth. And I'm gonna stop.
yeah, if I could find like that color of the gums and
Oh, I'm sure you could. I'm sure you could.
oh yeah, you go to Hobby Lobby and they've got like every fucking color and then
Exactly.
some.
You could totally do it.
I could make them like abstract and do like metallic.
Neon green and metallic. The gums are neon green and the teeth metallic.
I don't need ideas. Um, yeah. So, of course, when I got there, because I've got like the uneven bite,
Hmm.
they had to file them a couple times and refit them and file them and refit them. So, but they're all good now.
That's good.
He did. They did say that, like, if you're washing them, make sure you have a towel down or something soft because they break easy. And my insurance only pays for one in a lifetime.
Yeah.
So,
I have a denture. I have had this denture since I was in my early 20s. It's a whole top piece. Um, I've had the same one going on 20 years. Did you know you're supposed to get them replaced every 5?
mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
yeah. My mom had the same
Something just
ones.
touched my foot and it was not a cord.
Fun,
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah, it touched my heel. So it was like from under the bed.
Oh,
And there's no cats in here, and I know there isn't.
do you have another squirrel?
Oh, don't even. The other night, I was laying here and there was some big crash. I don't know what the hell it was. It was within the room. Um, it was almost like something dropped on something metal. And I'm like, what the fuck? So I go into death stare mode at the closet and nothing. I'm like, what in the actual fuck? So the next day I get up and I realize I'm going to flip the camera for you guys. If I can, how do I do it? Oh, here we go. Okay. In that corner is a giant metal sun. Okay. It was knocked over.
Huh.
How this got knocked over, I have no idea. It is in a corner. The room next to me is empty. The other side of the room is the empty rest of the basement. It was probably 3:30 in the morning.
Mm. Nope. Nope.
Yeah.
No. Mm-mm. This past Sunday, I did the psychic immersion thing with the lovely Miss Kelly. And okay, so originally the plan was you were going. So, and I told you this already, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm in the bathroom getting ready, and I'm like, Jenny's going to be there. She's going to be there because I haven't really talked to her. So maybe she's hiding the fact that she was on her way. And then we get there, and Kelly had messaged the other lady and I saying, like, I'm running a couple minutes behind. I'll be there. I'm like, yeah, because she had to wait for Jenny. And then Kelly walked in with no Jenny. And then I got sad.
I'm sorry. I
But
was I was busy having a dumpster fire over weekend.
yeah.
Dumpster fire birthday weekend. Yay.
But the thing with Kelly was amazing. Um, it was a very long day.
So it changed location, correct?
Hmm.
And then everything got put into one day, correct?
Yep.
Okay. So what was one of the first things that you did?
First thing we did was like a past life regression,
Okay.
and I didn't get a whole lot, but she said that's normal.
Mm-hmm.
Like it happens. It's not that it's normal, but she said, don't be surprised if you get pieces here and there. And maybe at the time it won't make sense. And then you'll go, oh, I get it now. So the gist was it looked to be about around the 1850s. I was a girl, well, at the time, maybe about 17. Um, and the first thing I saw was a dog. I don't know what the fuck that had to do with anything, but a dog. And then um, lived in a brick house. Let's see what else. Um, I did give birth. Um, and then at some point, my father passed away. And I'm not 100% sure, but I think I was trampled by horses.
Okay.
And my son that I had at the time was with me, and he was probably about 6 or 7 when it happened. So,
Okay. And do you know if the son passed as well or?
not at that time. He was like just standing there.
Oh, okay.
So, I
Thanks,
don't
kid.
know. Maybe I pushed his little bratty ass out of the way. I don't know. Ah,
That's kind of funny. I
yeah.
would take that over the two experiences that I had that I would say were most likely past life, which the one I got shot in the head. That
Mhm.
was a weird feeling, because like I literally did the whole flinch thing.
Mhm.
And then the other one was burning in a closet. So yeah.
No.
And then there was the couple I had done with Kelly last year, I think it was.
Yep.
Um, I had two experiences from that. So, and those were interesting. Those were much further back though, I think. So,
yeah, it was cool. But here's nothing that, like, the day was amazing, learned a lot, but my issue for me,
hmm
um unless I'm being guided through something, like the whole time Kelly's walking you through like the whole past life thing, and then talk to a spirit guide, uh and any of the other like visualizations that you have to do, I can do while she's doing it. I can't visualize shit on my own.
same.
It's I mean, certain things I can, yes, but then there's some that it's not happening.
hmm I totally know what you mean.
But
I really do.
and then I do got to get back with her because like I've done the DNA. We've both done like the DNA activation with her and the quantum healing, but it's been a distance thing
hmm
where this was like up close, impersonal, intense as hell. And Monday, I was sick. Like I just felt like a turd with eyes. Like
Oh my
I
gosh.
just felt like shit all day long.
Wow.
And it may have been because I was so tired because of the time it started and the
hmm
distance I am away. And I have to have I can't just get up and get ready and go. I got to get up and wake up
hmm
and then get ready and then think about leaving and then leave. Um, so I had to get up. Well, my alarm was set for 4:30, but I'm also one of them people that when I have to get up at a certain time or I'm going to be late, I don't sleep. Like I wake up every so often, check my phone. Oh, I got 2 hours left. Well, at 10 to 4, I was like, you know what? I'm done with this today. I'm done. I'm just getting up. So I got up at 10 to 4, left my house about 20 after 7. I got home at 8:30.
Wow. Yeah, that's a really long day.
Yeah, it was a very long day. A very, very, very long day.
And especially considering you were doing energy work too. Yeesh.
Hmm. So I don't know. Like, I don't know if it's from the like being tired,
hmm
um, or
If it's from
the
that.
from the activation and everything, because it was very, 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 very intense.
Okay.
But
So, out of curiosity, what was your biggest takeaway from the whole thing?
that I overthink everything. And like I'm Kelly would have us do something and she'd say, stop overthinking. Because I was overthinking. I overthink everything. And yeah, she would just, I wouldn't even be looking at her. She'd say, stop it. But yeah, the fact that I have to overcome the overthinking.
Yeah,
So yeah.
I would say I do too.
Yeah, huge. Like I second guess and third and fourth guess everything. So like when something comes in, I'm like, yeah, that's not what it is. And I know what it is. I know what it is. But I tell myself that's not it. And
Yeah.
yeah. So um the aura reading was really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you get to see colors?
Yes, but Kelly teaches it in a different way than like what they say, like look at someone's shoulders and um so actually no one read mine. Now that I think about it, like nobody read mine.
Huh.
Yeah. Um, but I read the other ladies
Okay.
and like I explained what I saw and like I was associating colors different than like what me, how the colors have actual meanings.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so they were right. Like all the like when I saw blue, everything about the lady was spot on. But I was just seeing colors different than what the list says, if that makes any sense.
So, like, instead of seeing blue, you were seeing green,
Kind of, but it was
but
like
yet it had like the definition of blue.
yes, like whatever. I don't even know. Kelly gave us like this binder with everything in it, what the colors mean and this and that, but and I don't know like the coloring for like nurturing or mothering or anything like that, but I saw it as blue, and that's because my mom's favorite color was blue. So
Oh,
that's
so you associate the two.
yeah,
Okay, gotcha.
yeah. It was like my color associations, not what it actually was, but it still ended up being correct.
Okay.
So yeah, it was yeah. So all right, are we ready to get started on this dumpster fire?
Let's go. What is this week's dumpster fire other than me?
Okay, so do you remember my recommendation for last week?
No, sorry.
That's okay. Um, it was the show, the Hulu. Well, it's
Oh, yeah, yeah.
the Dark Side of the Ring.
Yeah.
Okay, well, there was a couple of true crimey ones,
Okay.
and um, I did one of those.
That's cool.
Okay, so that show, The Dark Side of the Ring, is one of my sources. Um, and a Google search. And then because, okay, so I I didn't do start notes.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. So I got home and ate and was like listening to that, taking notes. And so yeah. So my notes or my resources are that show. And then like just like when you do a search for somebody, the basic info like birth date, death date, all that shit. Um, and my other resource is thesignaturespot.com, which is actually a summarization of that episode because I didn't get to all the notes.
And I'm sorry. That's my fault.
It's
I
okay.
apologize for that. Uh,
Um, I wanted to
yeah.
do this story anyway. I just hadn't planned on it this soon. So if it's a little chaotic, I'm very, very sorry because I was eating grilled peanut butter and
And I'm sorry, but I gotta ask you, how do you make grilled peanut butter?
the same way you do a grilled cheese, you just put peanut butter on the bread instead of cheese.
Okay, so the bread is buttered then.
Mhm.
Okay,
Yeah,
because personally, I like to make toast and put peanut butter on it immediately after it comes out of the toaster,
so it
so its
melts.
peanut butter melts.
Yeah. So then I highly recommend a grilled peanut butter sandwich.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, when you had mentioned that, I was like, I wonder if the bread is buttered, if it's like an actual grilled cheese.
Yep. And Roy started making these for me when I was pregnant with my son. And because I crave sweet shit, but I didn't want to just constantly eat like chocolate.
Unhealthy garbage.
Yeah. So, and I love peanut butter. I
Mhm.
love like I am so grateful that I didn't have children that were allergic to peanut butter, and I don't have grandchildren that are allergic to peanut butter because I would throw the kid away.
Um, I contend with a husband and child slash children who eat peanut butter straight from the jar by the spoonful.
There ain't nothing wrong with that.
So I understand. Yes, I deal with that. Not so much that I do it, but yeah, I do like peanut butter though.
Yeah, peanut butter is a food group. Okay, so my story this week is the murder of Nancy Argentino. Yes, I said that right. Yeah. So Nancy was born in Brooklyn, New York in 1960 to Ralph and Caroline Argentino, which I believe that is one thing. My name in that past life was either Carolyn or Caroline. I don't remember.
Hmm.
Um, okay, this is where it's a little chaotic. Um, so that's the beginning of Nancy. So we go to now. How familiar are you with wrestling?
Mm.
Older wrestling?
Mm.
All right, fine. Okay, so Jimmy Snuka,
Mm.
never heard of him?
Mm.
Oh, Christ on a cross. He was actually a huge wrestler in like the 80s.
Mm.
Huge. Um, he was born May 18th, 1943, so about 17 years older than Nancy. Oh crap, I didn't write down her actual birthday. Well, fuck me running. Um, Jimmy Snuka was born James Wiley Smith, and he was born in, I don't know how to, if I'm saying this right, but Suva, Suva, Fuji.
Sure,
Fuji
but
Islands.
I want to go to Fuji.
Um, so he basically took wrestling by storm when he like signed up with WWF. Um, Audiences were enthralled by his acrobatics, and he was like a real life Tarzan because, well, his wrestling name was Jimmy Superfly Snuka because he would like get on that top rope and do like a flip and land on somebody and pin him and beat him. And um, another thing he was known for was he would like kneel in the ring like after a victory, and that was like I never really wondered why because I I knew he had a different culture, so I thought maybe
Hmm.
it was a culture thing when I was little. I didn't know,
Hmm.
but apparently that was a sign of respect to his fans.
Oh.
So, so how they're connected is Nancy would go with her childhood friend. They grew up together. They were friends for a long time. To Madison Square Garden to watch wrestling because her friend Ellen was engaged to, and I don't think this sounds like a wrestler's name, Johnny Rods. Does not sound like a wrestler's name, but
I agree.
um, which actually there's another never mind. there's another episode where a porno producer starts a wrestling company, and it's a wild ass episode. Wild.
Did it happen to be the manager of this guy?
Yeah. So they would go to the wrestling matches because Ellen's fiance, Johnny Rods, would wrestle. So they would go wait backstage after the matches, wait to meet up with him. And that's when Nancy meets Jimmy. Now, again, there's like 7. Stop it. I'm trying to be I'm trying to be adult about this. So
that it wasn't even that topic. It was the whole when Nancy meets Jimmy.
yeah. So they meet backstage. She likes him immediately. I personally don't see the appeal. Excellent wrestler, great showmanship. He's everything you want in a wrestler. Just I don't feel he's attractive. So on this show, both of her sisters are interviewed for it. There's a whole list of people that are interviewed. The episode is narrated by Chris Jericho. You know who that is, right? I haven't watched wrestling in like 25 years, and I know who he is. But there's several former wrestlers that are interviewed, like the Tonga Kid, Don Morocco. I'm not even gonna ask because I know you don't. There is both of Nancy's sisters, Lorraine and Louise, a journalist named Kevin Ammerman, journalist Adam Clark, paramedic Shirley Reeve, Carol Snuka, who was Jimmy's widow. Spoiler alert, he died. Well, I mean, I meant to get to that later, but I guess when I'm reading who's interviewed in this episode, she was married to him for the Stop it. Are we good? Okay. She was married to him for the last 20 years of his life. And Frederick Conger, former chief of police in Whitehall Township. So she liked him immediately, and the sisters in this episode say like he would come to the family's home for dinner or whatever, and he would like sit off by himself. He was very isolated, and would only even occasionally talk to Nancy. Now, side note.
Sounds like my husband.
So side note, her name was Nancy. Chris Benoit's wife he murdered was Nancy. So if your name is Nancy,
Stay the fuck
do
away from
not
wrestlers.
date a wrestler. Just throwing that out there. And then Nancy told her mom that she was in love with him. She pretty much became his babysitter on the road because Buddy Rich, who was his in-ring manager / handler / chaperone, said that Jimmy was hooked on booger sugar and kind of uncontrollable. Buddy told Vince McMahon that he couldn't be in a car with Jimmy because he would like snort while they were driving, like brazenly snort while driving.
Wow.
Okay. Apparently the air's got to be off and the windows are up because otherwise you're wearing it, right?
Yeah, that's true.
So because of this, the task was then given to Nancy, who apparently had no other life. So she would map out their trips from show to show. She did the driving. She did all the trip planning. Nancy's mom liked Jimmy. Again, this is controlled chaos on this paper. Nancy's mom liked Jimmy, but her dad had doubts. And then this is where Nancy's sister Louise shares a little story of she had only met him a few times, I guess. And she tells a story how her parents were out of town. She came home from where, I don't know, and her parents were there. So I guess they weren't out of town. I don't. This is the way she explains it. Okay, don't.
I've
Um,
read stories like this, and so I totally get it because I actually just read one the other day, and I was like, "Wait, what? What the fuck?"
yeah. How does
And
that
it
make
was
sense?
actually that like the victim showed the police the tent they were living in, and he was arrested.
Yeah,
I'm like, what? What the fuck happened here?
yeah.
It was
So
terrible.
the parents were out of town. The sister Louise came home, and the parents were there, and they had brought home Chinese food for dinner, which I'm game.
Same.
Um, so Louise sits down for dinner, and she's bubbly and chatty and just kind of a million miles an hour. Well, Jimmy didn't like that. So she describes that he goes like this to like just in front of her throat. And her words are gives like a wrestler's face. It says, I could easily, and then she stops there. So I'm guessing I could easily choke you out. So
Uh-huh.
she looks at her sister and says, I don't even want to eat now, and goes upstairs. So then Nancy comes upstairs and almost is apologetic for him and says, he's really sorry. So then I don't know if he goes up or she comes back down, but as an apology, gives her some cocaine. Like, here, I scared you, so do some cocaine about it. Nancy gets upset by this and says, like, don't do that. She don't need that. And then the sister's like, thanks, but no. She gave it back and said, bye. Um, and then that's when they kind of really noticed a personality change in Nancy because she was like controlled, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so by this time, Nancy's 22 and she's constantly on the road with her boyfriend. And Jimmy was careful who she was around at the shows. And in the episode, I don't know who's conducting the actual interview, but they asked Don Morocco, who was a wrestler, uh, did you know Nancy? And he replies that he had met her, and he was like, I don't know why, but she didn't like me. And it could have been because like they were like rivals.
Mm-hmm.
Like Jimmy and Don Morocco were ring rivals of the ring. They had a rivalry, whatever. They were enemies, frenemies. I don't know. Um, so he said, I don't know if it's because we were rivals or because I was friends with his wife, Sharon. So Jimmy's married.
Oh,
Yeah. Him and his wife have 4 kids. They're still living together, but he's constantly on the road.
he's
Um,
got a road girlfriend. Got it.
yep. And so it was this Sorry. It was described that he was very picky on who she could talk to at these shows. So that says possessive. Um, that's where my written notes end, and now I'm going to the stuff. So, okay, let me find.
Ma'am, the shadow in your closet is moving.
Sorry. Don't tell me
Yeah.
that, because, and I keep getting a chill, and I'm like cold, and then I get warm, and it's okay. And something else about Jimmy, the one guy. Uh, I'm sorry. Uh, Sam Fatu, I think his name is pronounced. He was one of the wrestlers interviewed. He states that not many of the boys, meaning wrestlers, um, knew Nancy very well due to Jimmy being protective, and the boys knew Jimmy was a little crazy. Um, and then at this point in the episode, the sisters kind of recall finding out that Jimmy was married, and we're like, what are you doing? And Nancy's thought was, well, I'm always on the road with him. He's always with me. So what about it? She saw nothing wrong with it. He was with her. That's what mattered. So around this time, her family starts finding out that there's some physical violence. The one journalist, I forgot the first name, because at this point, for some people it goes by last name, some people it goes by first name. But the journalist Ammerman reveals that during a stay at a Howard Johnson's in New York, other people staying there were complaining the sounds of a man beating a woman. And her sister Lorraine received a phone call at 2 a.m. with Nancy saying, like, he's chasing me. And then the line goes dead. Police are called, and they find Jimmy grabbing Nancy by her hair. And upon attempting to intervene, they are met with, quote, almost superhuman strength, end quote, from Snuka, who resists arrest. So he fought off both police and police dogs.
Oh, dang.
Yeah, so not a great situation.
Definitely not.
So the next morning, when speaking with her sister, Nancy just says it's all a big misunderstanding. Of course it is. Jimmy was arrested for assault and harassment, but would avoid jail time because of a signed affidavit by Nancy. And then now the episode kind of moves into how the WWF relied on Nancy to ensure she took care of Jimmy and making sure his bookings, because nobody else wanted to deal with them, which I'm thinking that might be a little understandable.
Right?
And see, and here's the thing, like, I watched wrestling when I was younger, and he was one of my favorites. But there was no internet back then, so it's not like you could just easily, like, I watched him not knowing any of this. Like, this wasn't
It's, yeah, news
out
didn't reach everywhere.
right. So yeah, due to him being constantly high and out of control. They just gave her the job. Like, you deal with it. So, um, sorry, I'm just trying to find some shit that fucking matters. Okay, so that same journalist, Ammerman, discusses the Jimmy leaving the George Washington Motor Lodge for tapings, returning once and then leaving again for a few hours and then returning for the night where Nancy has been all day. A few hours later, the occupants of the motel are awoken by sirens outside, and this is confirmed by Sam Fatu and Don Morocco. Paramedic Shirley Reeve, who is one of the people interviewed, recounts arriving at the room and checking Nancy. She recalls her pupils being fixed and dilated, indication of a head injury. In Jimmy's initial story is they had been horsing around and she must have hit her head. I said initial story. And Jimmy would tell people in the ER that there was a conflict and he had pushed her. So that's story number 2. So Louise discusses receiving a phone call from her mother at 3 or 4 in the morning, finding out her sister was dead. Jimmy would then get on the phone blubbering, saying it was an accident. She fell and hit her head. Upon returning to the motel, Jimmy is interviewed by police where he introduces another story. Well, 4, because, accident hit her head. Okay. So this time he introduces the story of they pulled over to the side of the road for her to relieve herself. And she slipped and hit her head on the road before returning to the car. Don Morocco talks about being on the phone with Vince McMahon while he's interviewed by a lieutenant. And Vince tells this lieutenant that Jimmy will continue to cooperate with the investigation. So he's released without being charged.
Of course.
Then they discuss the funeral for Nancy, where Jimmy arrives with Buddy Rogers, who, remember before, he didn't want to deal with them. Jimmy arrives to the funeral wearing flip-flops, shorts, and a tank top. And he went to the coffin and he was like sobbing uncontrollably to the point where Nancy's father had to like lead him away. Like, calm your tits. The mortician, because it says the Undertaker, not the wrestler, revealed to Nancy's father that they had a hard time. Oh, sorry, before that. Lorraine reveals that as opposed to like offering his condolences to Nancy's family, he just says to her mother, Nancy looks terrible. The fuck? Right. I'd have booted his ass out.
Right.
I mean, I don't ever want to be in that position as the mother. But you just earned yourself a one-way ticket out the fucking door.
Yeah.
This is now Noteville to you, and you don't live here. So, quite the asshole. So the mortician reveals to Nancy's father that he had a hard time making her presentable due to heavy bruising around her neck and several cuts and abrasions. This would lead the family, obviously, to believe there was more to her death than what they were initially led to believe.
Yeah.
And then Don Morocco kind of reveals, and he says, now I know it's selfish, but at that point he was worried something would happen to Jimmy because of the money angle, because their rivalry was now at full swing and it was a big money maker. And he was kind of worried that that money's now going to go away. Okay. Sorry. His widow, remember, spoiler alert, reveals that Jimmy told her that he knew what he did and that he and his God would always know the truth about what really happened. Louise, the sister, reveals that Jimmy's promoter, which would have been Vince McMahon, calls to offer his condolences and offered the family 25,000, sorry, $25,000, clearly as an attempt to make this
Brush it. Yep.
go away. The Argentino family would pursue a wrongful death suit against Jimmy. So it goes to court. He never shows up. So of course, the judgment automatically is defaulted, and he has a $500,000 suit, which he never paid. At this point, his drug problems worsened and he became more and more unreliable, leading to his release from the WWF. In 2013, Adam Clark, one of the other journalists they talked to, he reaches out to Lorraine, her sister, to discuss the 30-year anniversary of her passing. Clark reveals that due to the case technically being open, he was unable to get a copy of the autopsy report. And then journalist Ammerman discloses that when they got a copy of the wrongful death lawsuit, it included a bevy of never before seen information, including the autopsy report. The autopsy indicates that the trauma was not consistent with any of Jimmy's stories.
Imagine that.
And could be considered mate abuse. The bombshell in the autopsy is a letter from the coroner indicating that this should be investigated as a homicide until proven otherwise in the autopsy report. So, yeah.
Clearly, police were paid off.
Yep. And that's the next point on here. The police chief, lieutenant, whatever he was, continually attempts to brush off any criticism of his police department and the work that was done. While the investigation is secretly ongoing, Jimmy releases his autobiography where he addresses the allegations. In all the details in the meeting with Jimmy and Vince McMahon with authorities is one of the only ones not to have a transcript.
Of course not.
Right. After that meeting, the case goes cold.
Yep.
Carol Snuka, the wife, says that Jimmy would claim that Vince came to that meeting with a briefcase and told Jimmy afterward, "Don't worry about it. Everything's taken care of."
Yep.
His wife Carol discusses how Jimmy was insistent on including her in his book. Nancy's family discusses how different from the truth his description of his relationship with Nancy really was. So, like, he said it was, I don't know, I didn't read his book. And I probably never would now, knowing what I know now.
Right.
And I do remember when stuff I'm going to bring up in a couple more points. I do remember when that happened, and I'm like, no. And I didn't realize that it happened in the 80s. I thought it was something more current when it
okay.
happened. So during the interview on this episode, Sam Fatu reveals that he was actually in the car on the way with
To the
Jim.
hotel?
Yeah. Which was in Allentown, Pennsylvania. Sorry, I forgot to include that earlier. I don't know if it's important.
Not really.
And he reveals that they never stopped anywhere along the way, throwing that whole story that she stopped to pee
Yep.
out the window. That's obviously not true. So in 2015, the case is finally reopened, and Jimmy is arrested and charged with third-degree murder. His wife Carol reveals that Jimmy's health was so bad during the trial, he had no idea what was happening, which he did have cancer. I forget what kind. I forgot what kind. I'll look that up in a second. So because of his not understanding of what was happening, because by this time he's like in his 70s, like 73, and in shit health. He has cancer. The judge agreed that he was not mentally fit to stand trial. 10 days after that ruling, he dies.
Go figure.
Mm-hmm. So in the end, there's no final resolution, whether it be clearing his name or finding him guilty for her family. I mean, I think we can all kind of figure it out, but thinking it and having it a legal
the legal
decision
documentation
makes all the difference.
it does.
So I did.
Excuse me.
Bear with me a second. So I screenshotted some from when she was found, like the day she died, on May 10th. And this is, I'm going to read this directly from Wikipedia, which I really don't like reading directly from, but on May 10th, 1983, a few hours after defeating Jose Estrada at a WWF television taping at Lehigh County Agricultural Hall in Allentown, Pennsylvania, Snuka placed a call for an ambulance. When emergency personnel arrived at his room at the George Washington Motor Lodge, they found his girlfriend, Nancy Argentino, had been injured. She was transported to Allentown's Sacred Heart Medical Center, where she died shortly after an undetermined craniocerebral injuries. The coroner's report stated that Argentino, who was only 23,
Oh my God.
yeah, isn't that a bitch?
Yeah.
23, 23, died of
Traumatic?
traumatic brain injuries. I was trying to put those two words together and it did not work in my favor. Consistent with a moving head striking a stationary object. Autopsy findings show Argentino had more than 24 cuts and bruises, a possible sign of serious domestic abuse on, here's the list, on her head, ear, chin, arms, hands, back, buttocks, legs, and feet. Forensic pathologist Isidore and the who performed the who performed the autopsy wrote at the time the case should be investigated as a homicide until proven otherwise. Deputy Lehigh County Coroner Wayne Snyder later said, upon viewing the body and speaking to the pathologist, I immediately suspected foul play and so notified the district attorney.
Oh, snap. So it
So,
wasn't even just at the lieutenant level. It was
yeah,
at the DA.
yeah.
They had to pay off a lot of people.
Mhm.
And they would have had to pay off the coroner as well.
No, because the coroner said, he's the one that said, upon viewing the body and he suspected foul play
But
and gave that information to the district attorney.
yeah, but
So it's out of his hands. Like he did his job.
he could have pushed it.
I mean, when you're a county coroner,
Yeah, you go to the counties around you. You say, hey, I have this
right?
case.
But I don't know, like that's not his only case. He's got other cases. He handed it to the district attorney. He did his job.
Yeah.
So it was, I'm gonna say Vince McMahon.
Mm-hmm. And sadly, that's not even the worst of things that I've heard about that man.
Oh God, no. God, no. Um, so I know there's like on Hulu, there's only 3 seasons. I know there's more, so I don't know. Like I know other shows, like every week they add a new episode, which I'm waiting for season 4 now because I've watched everything there is to watch on Hulu. Um, yeah, there's a lot of shady shit he's done. A lot, a lot, a lot, a lot. And how that man isn't sitting in prison.
Right?
Like and I probably shouldn't say this. Not like he's ever gonna listen, but he's a shady motherfucker.
He is.
The
He most certainly is.
yeah, just different things. So that is the case of poor Nancy Argentino. I couldn't imagine that had to be a horrible death.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that like this doesn't even talk about the bruising on the neck.
Yeah.
This yeah, that it doesn't well chin, but the mortician said that
That means that the bruising didn't show up until after. That's what that is. The bruising didn't show up till after. I bet you that's what happened.
I mean maybe, I don't know. Um but the mortician had told her dad that like the bruising on her neck. So that had to be horrible. And I mean, I'm assuming her parents are gone. But her sisters were, the sisters were trying to tell her before that, before they even found out about any abuse, like, you need to get the fuck away from him. Like,
Right. Yeah, the sisters would probably be in their 60s.
um,
Because if she was 23, his sisters were younger. It happened in 83. I was born the next month, actually. So I turned 40. So yeah, that would put them around 60.
yeah, I think one was older and one was younger.
Okay.
One was actually, I'm guessing, from her mom's first marriage, because
Okay.
she did call Nancy's father her stepfather.
Oh, okay.
So, um, yeah, she was born in 60s. So Nancy would be 63.
Hmm.
So you've got one older than 63 and one younger than 63. I don't have their actual ages, but
Yeah. No, I'm just saying it would make sense that they would still be alive.
and she was a pretty girl. I don't
Oh, yeah.
I mean, she was a very pretty girl. And like I said, let me find, because you don't know who he is. So,
You'll have to throw pictures up on the page.
yeah, I'll throw some up there, but I wanted like to show you one of him. I'll show you one from like his heyday.
Okay, I see the Tarzan.
Yep. And he would, get on that top rope and jump and fly. And, like I said, one of his names was Superfly. So,
Yeah, yeah. And yeah, I can understand how someone like that would have a serious coke addiction and a rage issue.
hmm yep. Yep. So, I mean, oh, Roy must have went to bed because lights are out there. Um,
Yeah, it's 2:30 for you.
yeah, it is. That's okay. That's okay. Oh, I have my alarm set to get up early. I'm going to change it because I had to get up early today to go get my mouth guard, which I have to remember to put that in because that's going to be a new bedtime routine.
Well, then we will let you go so that you can begin your new nighttime routine.
Yeah, it's going to be different. Should take a few days to get used to it,
Yeah.
to remember that I have to put that in before going to bed now.
By next week, you'll be set.
Yeah, next week will be a totally different story. So, and I feel bad for doing another true crime story so soon after my last one, because I was actually like, I wanted to do this one, but I was going to wait a few more weeks. But then, when you were like, I'm like, I'll do that one because I did just watch it. It was still fresh. I refreshed to get like more accurate dates, and I knew they met at a wrestling thing, but I couldn't remember the exact elements. But like I
Well,
said, the synopsis from that, thesignaturespot.com, lifesaver.
well, I think you did a great job.
Thank you.
Slightly chaotic, but really not too bad. The spoiler was hilarious. Um, oh, it happens. It happens. So yeah, but all in all, great job. Thanks for saving me in a pinch.
Not a problem. I'm going to look up real quick to see what kind of cancer it was he had.
Oh, I hope a nasty one.
A little bit, yeah, stomach cancer.
Yeah, that'd be painful.
Um, but yeah, I think, I mean, again, I feel horrible for the family that they don't have the closure that they were looking for.
Right.
But the fact that he only lived for 10 days after that ruling,
Yeah.
and
I feel like in cases like that, the judge should be able to make a determination.
yeah,
Be like, you know what? Okay. Unfortunately, he passed. We can't set him to trial, but based on the evidence and the facts at hand, this is what I'm going to say.
that would be nice. I mean, that, but then again, you know, everyone's right, and I mean, I get it. Um, and I know they were trying to say like he had that CTE, the brain, the chronic traumatic empathy. Um, but to me, he had the rage issues before traumatic brain injuries,
Yes.
if that makes sense. Um, so yeah, seriously, if you get bored and you have Hulu, I highly recommend the series. I highly, highly, highly recommend it.
I don't have Hulu. Yeah, you can't do that with Netflix anymore.
Nope. But Hulu didn't say shit.
Oh, that's funny.
No.
I'm waiting for the new Wednesday.
I haven't watched that yet.
Oh, it's so good.
I know my grandkids watch it.
I recommend it.
So I went over there one day and both Jackson and Aubrey had stuff all over their hand. They were like, "We're Thing." I'm like, what?
I love it. Of all the characters they could be, they choose Thing. The hand. Love it. All right, ma'am.
Yep,
Let me
them's
let
my
you go.
babes. All right. Everyone have an excellent week. Hope you, well, because this will be out on Sunday, because I'm not doing another early one. Um, so I hope everyone had a good weekend. And when this comes out, happy Father's Day to all the dads.
Yes.
Um, I specifically want to shout out Dan because I know he's a
Yes,
good dad.
he
So
is.
I want to shout out Dan. Happy Father's Day. So um,
I hope you get to have a day of relaxation. You deserve it, dude.
yes, yes. I still want to meet Caitlin. I haven't met her yet. I want to meet her.
I got to meet her.
You did. Oh, that's right, because you went there. I
Yeah.
want to meet Caitlin. I do. I want to meet her. She just seems
She's
so.
awesome.
Yeah, she seems super cool. But yeah, I hope everyone is having a great weekend. Happy Father's Day.